Next stop is the medieval city of Fez.
As you can see, they got an early start on the day.
And they're not the only ones. Those are the sounds of Muslims at their morning prayers.
That's a sound you probably won't hear in Chicago. And here's something you won't see. Check out what a Moroccan mall looks like.
All prices are negotiable, but if you want a bargain, you've got to speak French.
Monsieur, combien pour litre? Per kilo?
Kilo? No.
Oh, yeah.
Combien de grammes c'est dingue?
Yeah, it's the price.
Excusez-moi, how much do you charge for le giant pile de cinnamon?
So it's 15 per kilo. That's not bad.
With all the supplies packed up, the team headed for the desert. Africa has always been the least explored part of the world when it comes to fossil hunting. With the blazing hot sun beating down on endless stretches of sand, most boneheads have stayed away, but Sereno and his team love a challenge.
Not to mention a good mystery, and the Sahara is pretty much the mystery capital of the world. Let's see what the sands of time reveal today.
Sounds like it's time for one of your snazzy timelines.
One timeline coming up extra snaz. This is the time period Paul's into. It's called the Mesozoic. That's when the dinosaurs ruled supreme. But the part of the Mesozoic that really rattles his bones is the Cretaceous. Why? Because that's when the African dinos started coming on strong. And that's because they were cut off from their relatives in the rest of the world. Why's that, you ask? Because for the first 100 million years or so of the dinosaur era, all the continents in the world were blobbed together into one big megablob called Pangaea. Then, about 150 million years ago, the megablob started to split apart into a number of mini-blobs. Some boneheads think the dinos started evolving differently in different parts of the world.
And so we have the idea that possibly on different islands, continents, whole different kinds of animals came into being. It looks like at least the predators and possibly the herbivores had gone off on their own. And how different and bizarre these animals are is what we're really trying to narrow down. How did the isolation at a continent level affect dinosaur evolution? We think something different was happening here.
To try to prove his theory, Paul first takes his team south to Anwal.
That's a small Moroccan town at the edge of the Sahara Desert.
Because some fossils were discovered near here about 40 years ago, Paul has high hopes for what might be buried in this part of the world.
This is the most ambitious expedition ever mounted in this area, and the whole town's talking about it.
After checking into Hotel Pup Tent, it's time to dig.
Behind this ridge, you see a really long sort of tongue coming down. So maybe that's this ridge here?
Yeah, that's probably that.
Okay.
With Han's directions to guide them, the search is on.
More and more there's evidence that there are fossils here in Morocco. We know that there are fossils here. But actually getting there with the right team, with the right amount of energy, and the ability to cover large areas of this part of the Sahara is the grand trick.
Now, Paul has a pretty good track record when it comes to bone hunting, but he'll still have his work cut out for him on this dig.
Hey, he found something already. Looks like prospecting for fossils is a piece of cake.
I think that prospecting for fossils is a lot of hard work. You can look here in the fossils there and you don't see it. That part's luck. But that you're looking in this area in the first place has to do with the fact that you've interpreted a map correctly, that you've gone to the outcrop, saw a bad one, went to a good one. You make hundreds of decisions like this in the course of a field season. And if you have some idea of what the rocks are telling you about the environment, then you stand a much better chance of finding fossils. I feel like it has more to do with understanding rocks.
And what do the rocks tell you?
Nothing, if you keep hitting them on the head like that.
Well, that's the only way to find out if they're hiding any fossils.
One of the fastest ways to tell what kind of sediment you're dealing with is just to taste it and chew it for a while.
Because with just one or two bites, you can determine how much grit is in a piece of sediment. It's a little gritty, but very, very, very slight.
Just a touch of salt.
Yeah.
Snacking on dirt told Hans and Paul two things. Number one, that this area used to be a saltwater lake, which means very few dino fossils will be found.
And number two?
Dirt tastes better with a little salt.
So after 7 days in Anwar with nothing to show for all their work,